All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an Indie Game podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joining us, it is
Matty.
the guy, Juice.
It's me. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Episode 90, creeping up on the triple digits here, Tom. It's coming. It's coming. Just a few more weeks. You know, if you have any ideas, suggestions for maybe what we should do that we already don't have planned, let us know. But how you doing, Tommy?
I'm good. You cut out right when you said the number, but it is 96 for those who didn't hear it. Episode 96. Good. It's also probably in the description or the title of the podcast or video, wherever you're watching. But I'm doing well. We got a great episode for you all. This week, we are talking about Hell Clock, which these keys were provided to us by the devs. There's been a couple that I haven't mentioned that, but I think that is probably good to mention. But it is developed by Rogue Snail and published by Mad Mushroom, and we'll be talking about Hell Clock in a little bit. But first, we'll catch up, talk about maybe not so much news, but we're going to start doing some like notable releases of the week. We think that's kind of good because you can't just review everything. It's hard. A lot of games come out every week, so it's worth mentioning some notable ones that also came out. We'll review the game, we'll answer some listener questions, and then we will go down to the rec room. So,
yes.
How was your weekend?
It was good, actually. This is the first weekend in a while we didn't really have anything planned. So we were purposely trying to leave it open. We also made a commitment that we would do like a minimum amount of chores this weekend because honestly, you know, with Maria being so close to being due, you get in like this nesting mood. You want to make sure everything's like ready, all set up. So we did minimum chores, which was nice. And something we've actually started doing, which is real exciting adult stuff. But because during the summer you use more electricity typically with your AC, it can get expensive. So what we decided to do is we were like, what are the off-peak hours for our electric company? And then we just schedule like our dishwasher and our washing machine to just go during that time. And it's been great. You know, obviously with the washing machine, you got to wait till flip it over to the dryer, but so that's helped. That was nice this weekend, just kind of like not having to worry about that stuff kind of during the day and just, you know, or just doing it during the day and then scheduled it for later. But yeah, I also did my first stream back in about a month. My first like piece of content, you know, other than the podcast, which luckily we do it weekly, so I'm able to, you know, kind of prioritize it. But with my YouTube channel, it's not like I don't have a strict schedule. You know, my Twitch channel, I don't have a strict schedule really, because it's based a lot on the games and the content of the games. But I was like, you know what, let me do a stream. It wasn't a very long stream because I did have like technical difficulties and trying to figure out stuff because I had to reinstall OBS. And it was a whole thing, but it was fun. I played some Hell Clock on stream as well, which I rarely play podcast games on stream, but it was fun. It was good. You know, we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then, yeah, just kind of chilled on Sunday, you know. Bought Donkey Kong, playing some Donkey Kong, which is good. Yeah. Just doing some stuff, you know, preparing a little bit, but just kind of chilling, watching some TV. We watched this movie called K-Pop Demon Hunters, which is on Netflix.
About that. Is it good?
I mean, it has great ratings. It is a really great looking movie, and it has cool action scenes, I would say. But like the story is like just predictable, you know. So it's not really like if you're looking for like depth in a story, it's not really there. But it's a fun watch. It is more of like a musical. There's like a song every few minutes, which usually I'm not that into. But like these were fine because you know, I mean, it's like K-poppy or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting concept. These K-pop stars are also demon hunters.
Interesting.
So there you go. That's the setup for that movie.
All right. Well.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was interesting. But Anyway, I also watched another movie which may or may not be in the rec room later. So stay tuned for that. I'll talk about a little bit more. But Tommy, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. It was, I guess, low key. I mean, on Friday I worked late, and then I got home and we just like chilled or whatever. And then Saturday, my friend hosted a party. We haven't been to his house yet, and it was nice. It was low key. I made a dip based on that Seattle style hot dog. So it was like a cream cheese based dip with like fresh jalapenos, like ended up in there after you melt it all. But you caramelize a bunch of onions, cream cheese, and then I like thinly sliced hot dogs and put them in the air fryer and let them get all crispy, and then chop them up, threw in the dip. It ended up being pretty good. So that was cool. I might have tied one on a little bit at that party, but that's all right. I was feeling good. And then Sunday, we just hung out. We went to breakfast to a place that we've been meaning to go to. Did that. And then we got some other stuff done. I got rid of a bunch of clothes. It's like, because my clothes are just nuts. There's just like t-shirts everywhere. I love t-shirts, and then I eventually don't even wear half of them, and like, because I fluctuate in size. I can wear a large, but I prefer an XL, right? Because it just because like, I don't know, it just feels a little bit more comfy. Yeah. So like I had to decide which larges am I going to keep, and then most of them ended up going away, and then the XLs, that was like all like, all right, which of these do I actually wear? And which can I donate? Yeah. So we're going to donate a bunch of clothes. That was cool. Got to do my closet next, but I think that's like a winter thing. I'll do that then. Yeah. But it was good. Not a lot of craziness, just kind of hanging out, played some ramp shot on Saturday. That's always fun. And played Hell Clock. And I still play a lot of Balatro, but I was just like, you know what? I gotta balance it out because I've beaten it 100% 3 times now. Gotta splash something else into my mobile gaming. I cranked open a new OSRS character.
Oh my god!
So
you're joking? Oh my god!
I'm not joking.
Wow, that's great. Some of the guys
I know
just started. Yeah, and I was considering playing. They're like, they're doing like a 5-man Iron Man or whatever.
I'm not doing Iron Man.
It's like a max of 5 players, so I wasn't able to join. But you're just kicking it solo dolo.
I'm just like doing it to like kill time, because like the mobile app's pretty good for old school RuneScape, and I can play it on the PC whenever I'm doing work over here. But like in bed, like before bed, I'll just be like, whatever. I'll level up one thing real quick and then go to sleep. Like right now, I'm just focusing on wood cutting and fire making. It's like the most boring stuff, but I'm just like, well, whatever. I'll just hang out and just, all right, let's cut down that willow tree, let's get the the wood cutting up.
This is sounds right up my alley.
It's relaxing, man. I swear to God, it's very nice. So.
No, I'm not being sarcastic. Yeah. I love that stuff. That's like right. I just never thought I would cave into RuneScape, because I've been asked so many times to play, and I'm like, no, like look at it. I don't want to play RuneScape. But now, peer pressure, might do it for me. I don't know.
In fairness, I've never been one that was like playing with other people. Like that's never how I've played games in general. I think like other than like competitive stuff, like I always kind of like do my own thing. Although it is easier to do the stuff if you have help. So if you play, let me know.
All right.
We're rocking with the OSRS again, but all right, let's get to some news. Got some great news. We got a Discord. It's in the show notes below. Please check it out. And we're gonna move the news section to the notable release section, I think, going forward. Just like indie game news, it seems like it's only ever bad news sometimes. And then like
a lot of it's also just like like top 10 indie games of the year. It's just like, how many times can we go over that or whatever, So just, yeah, notable releases. I like it.
So this past week, Wheel World came out. I know there's a lot of hype around that one. That's a like kind of biking, like maybe open world kind of game. That released on the 23rd, which is a week ago at this point, but it's a pretty notable release and people are liking it. Another game that had already been released was Primal Planet, which is a like story focused kind of pixel art dinosaur Metroidvania. Kind of sounds cool to me.
I mean, if that didn't sell you on it right there, I don't know what will.
Yeah, that is that one looked pretty cool if anybody wants to check that one out. And then stuff that's coming out, I know you're a big fan of Grounded 1. Grounded 2 is coming out, although it's not really indie apparently, but it is coming out soon. I forget which day. And then
tomorrow. The 29th. July 29th.
So,
yes, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, yeah, you're waiting for it. Clearly waiting
I'm
for
ready.
it. And then Tales of the Shire, which is, wouldn't say indie. It's probably indie adjacent. It looks like an indie game. I'll tell you what, the graphics do look a little bit not super polished. I'll be interested to see how good that game is. I've heard some reviews so far. But Tales of the Shire is a cozy life sim Hobbit game. So that is one that I might try. I don't know how much it's going to be. I think it comes out in like a day or two as well. So
$35 comes out tomorrow on July 20th.
Okay, all right.
Just because Maria is going to be playing it, so we're getting it on the Switch too. And reviews haven't looked too hot on it, but concept wise, I feel like there's a lot of potential. So we'll see how they execute on it.
Cozy games are tough to like tell how good, in my opinion, how good they can be based on reviews. And the reason is, I think that in a world of Stardew Valley, which is undoubtedly the GOAT, right? It's like there's two schools of thought on cozy games, I think. It's like Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley, it's like you got to do a lot of work, right? It's not so. It is cozy, but like it's for people who want like tasks and stuff to do all the time, and to be able to interact with different kinds of characters and kind of build relationships. And then there's like Animal Crossing, which is like there's tasks, but it's also what you make of it too. Which Stardew Valley has a little bit of that too. So you just don't really know which direction any cozy game could technically go. So and you don't know what the reviewer wants out of it either.
Yeah, I feel like it should be like cozy and cozy plus, something like that. Like Stardew Valley is like cozy plus.
Yeah,
something like that.
A cozy like.
Yeah, exactly. Cozy like. Just wait. There'll be games in that genre soon enough. Now that we mentioned it, we mentioned Survivor like. All of a sudden, started seeing them. You never know what's going to happen. We'll see with Tales of the Shire. I think, with a game like Animal Crossing, like you mentioned, kind of a, not as task oriented, and also a game where you can just like wander. Like I feel like in Stardew Valley, I wasn't really like, I was focusing on quests and tasks, things like that. So hopefully, like Tales of the Shire seems like a game where it should let you kind of wander a little bit. But yeah, I guess we'll see. But just as Lord of the Rings fans, we want anything better than Gollum. So
yeah, I had hope for Gollum, but listen, I think that in the end he met his fate. But yeah, just to kind of reiterate, so Wheel World came out on the 23rd, sports kind of racing bike game with like it looks like some open world elements. That Primal Planet came out the 28th, which is the day that we're recording. Wheel World has very positive overall user reviews with 224, and Primal Planet just came out today. It already has positive 19 reviews. So that one's kind of interesting. A game that also looks pretty interesting to me is Clutch Time Basketball Deck Builder. It's like a roguelike deck builder that's basketball themed. That came out on July 24th. And that one has 69 reviews at very positive. Very nice. And that one looks pretty cool. So some cool indie games out there that look pretty neat. The Primal Planet looks really, really neat, though.
Let me check this one out. Primal Planet, baby.
Yeah, you're like...
Oh, yeah, look at this.
You're like these cavemen family that's kind of like going through this kind of prehistoric world. There's UFOs. There's a lot going on here. So definitely one that, is getting added to the wish list, actually. Right now.
Yeah, actually, someone called it a Dinovania.
Dinovania. I like that.
Yeah.
But very cool stuff. And then, hey, listen, I'm stoked to talk about this game, though, because Hell Clock is a game that we played at PAX first. And we were like, oh, this is really cool. And then you reached out, and then, we got keys provided, which is very cool. Again, developed by Rogue Snail and published by Mad Mushroom. It is $19.99 on Steam. Is it technically in early access?
It is. Let me see here. Hold on a moment. It is not in early access.
It's not. Oh yeah, it's not in early access, but the end game I think is still in like a beta mode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ascension.
Yeah. Ascension is in beta mode, but you forge through powerful builds with endless loot in this relentless combination of roguelike and action RPG. Blast through dungeons and unleash inhuman powers in a dark fantasy twist on Brazil's War of Canudos. Now, this is a pretty interesting game in the fact that it is based on a real historical thing that happened in Brazil, the War of Canudos, which actually have some facts right here. Let me bring it up. It's a grim chapter in Brazilian history. In the late 19th century, the newly formed Brazilian Republic sent its army against the people of Canudos, a village in the drought-stricken backlands of Brazil's northeastern state of Bahia. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The result was a massacre. 25,000 men and women and children were killed by the Republican army. In Rogue Snail's supernational twist on this true history, Canudos was a secret battleground between the forces of heaven and hell. The game takes place a few years after the war is over, and there's a lot of elements to that within the story. But we'll get to the story. First, let's talk about the gameplay. Hopping in, I think you almost immediately are like, okay, is this going to be like Diablo, or is this going to be like Hades, right? Because it has really similar kind of elements to both of them. So you hop in, you have X amount of skills that you can apply. You are running around with a gun, that you're basically a, late 19th century kind of styled, like almost like a cowboy, like Desperado style, like build out, I guess I would say. And you're running around, you're going through this like dungeon, this like chapel that has like kind of hordes of enemies, and they're dropping loot. You're picking up loot. You have all these kind of trinkets and stuff like that kind of buff your different kinds of stats. And then every time you gain a level, you get like that kind of classic roguelike, pick one of three things. And you choose one of the three things to upgrade whatever. And then the gold that you're collecting throughout the runs, you use at statues or relics, or not relics. What the hell is the other word I'm looking for? I don't remember. But it's like a statue. It's like a memento. No, not memento.
Blessing.
It's a you're getting a blessing. What was that?
Reliquary?
No, it's like a
that statue that's at the end before you go to the next floor?
Yeah. What the
Yeah,
heck
I
is
don't
it
remember
called?
what that's called.
Yeah. Well, you listen. Doesn't
The
matter.
statue.
It is a statue. So you're praying to the statue, and you get the opportunity to buy one of three kind of buffs that will kind of they're like a general buff for your whole run, as opposed to when you level up, you pick a buff for a certain move. Now, each move or each skill that you have has X amount of like epic kind of buffs that it can get, rare kind of buffs, magic buffs, common buffs. So basically in a run...
I'm sorry, is it a Murdy?
A Murdy?
I don't know. I was just Googling. Trying to see.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, Murdy apparently is a similar kind of...
I don't know. I mean, it will pop up in the gameplay, I'm sure. So check out the gameplay if you're watching YouTube or Spotify. But anyway, so you're going through, and it's not like Hades in a way that like it feels very skill intensive, if that makes sense. Like, this doesn't feel like I have to be like get good at the game. It feels closer to like a Diablo experience where the actual build out is going to like dictate how well you play through the game. Now, the main thing of this game is the clock, right? Because these runs, rather than go till you die, which is also one aspect of them, it is also go until the time runs out. Now, you get a little extra time every time you clear an area or beat a boss, and sometimes time freezes if you have like waves of enemies you have to beat. But that is the main thing. So like you have to make the decision, do I want to just like sprint through this, right? And just try to get as far deep into this run as possible? Or do I want to like collect loot, stuff like that? Because there is some currency that you can use. I think they're called soul stones. That was the game is it still this? Is it also soul stones?
I believe it's still soul stones. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, I think, game number 2 of like a month that had like soul stones. But so you're collecting those, and that's going to be the currency in the main area back in between your runs. So you're going till the time runs out. The time runs out, your run's over, yada yada yada. You go back to the main area. Now, the real meat and potatoes of this game in the gameplay side is the build like customization that you do back in the main area, because you have a lot of options here, right? You can pick new skills to apply to your skill like bar down at the bottom. Then there's also different kind of buffs that you can apply in this one bell area. You'll see that if you play this game. So like these like general buffs that like, okay, maybe you have more life or more attack generally, and then you can use those skill points however. And then, there was the bell right there. Actually, so if you're watching, you can see it right there. There's a, like, your classic spider tree of skills that you can apply, or skill points. And then there's also a pretty interesting loadout thing where you have a grid style backpack hero / dredge grid where you will pick up, you'll find relics whenever you play. Specifically when you beat a boss, you can get like epic relics and stuff like that of different kind of rarity. And then you have your own grid of what you can apply them to. And they'll all have different kinds of things. Now, they affect different kinds of skills that you can play or whatever. So the real meat and potatoes here, as I was saying, is collecting relics and finding really cool builds to do these runs, I think. And I think that is probably what's going to get people to keep coming back to this game rather than the actual gameplay, because the gameplay is fine. It's like fun, but it's not as rewarding as something like Hades. But this system feels very rewarding, right? Because you can build out a like your skill bar down at the bottom with a bunch of things that your relics are going to buff, and it's going to make certain things way better, and you can get to like be creative. So I think this is a game that's going to reward people that really like that aspect of these kind of roguelite experience, where you get to like take a moment before a run to be like, what can I do different that's going to help me have a great run, that I can get really deep into, this world before the time runs out and have fun. Now, some downsides to it, I do think it gets a little messy because there's just so much, right? Like, it's like the illusion of choice sometimes. Not the illusion of choice. It's the paradox of choice, right? So you get so many things that you can choose in between runs to like build out that it almost becomes very overwhelming, and that can be a turnoff for some people. For me, it was like fine, but I could see myself kind of getting frustrated. I was like, well, I'm just going to go with a basic build because this is all a little bit too much. And I think that could be a downside here. That being said, I did like the actual gameplay loop. I like being able to kind of just like click and attack and just run and try to like do things as quickly as possible. I like that. And then I also like, if I wanted to kind of explore every room, but I did feel like the clock aspect was a little weird because I was like how fast can I go through this without losing all the time, right? And I played like a couple hours, maybe 3 hours, and I felt like I could get to a certain point, but I kept running out of time. And I think I understand that it's a different kind of like restriction that you can add to these style of games, but I don't know in the long run if I will like it as much. But that's my my pros and cons on the gameplay.
Yeah, I think you make some good points. Some not so good. No, but as far as like the clock goes, right? Because you were just mentioning the clock. One thing that I appreciated with this game, and I actually didn't play with this setting on, but when you go to like build your save when you first kind of start it, it has an option for you to like turn the clock off.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just, I know it's kind of defeats the purpose of the game, so I didn't play like that. But I feel like that's an option, although there is not really a lot to explore, right? Like it's very linear. There are a few paths you can kind of go down, and maybe you'll get like a chest, things like that are all kind of marked on the map for you as well. So you don't really need to explore every nook and cranny because this is a game with the clock on. You're meant to be playing kind of fast, but there are ways to upgrade the clock as well. I did just kind of get some of those upgrades, so you can, obviously have more time. But yeah, I kind of found myself, because of the clock, I would be like, okay, I need to get through like this amount of floors and have this amount of time left if I'm gonna, have a chance to get to the second boss. That sort of stuff started happening. Just based on how you typically perform, and like with a game like this, it was also a lot about like, okay, I can't get too like caught up like exploring something or like trying to kill every single enemy. You just kind of kill the ones that are in your way, unless you're really trying to maximize like the amount of coins and rewards that you're getting. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, all kind of tying back to like the clock. I didn't really feel like it added a very interesting mechanic to the game, having this clock. I didn't feel like I don't know. I feel like if maybe there were more ways for me to add time to it, that could have been interesting. You do get, I believe, after each boss battle, if I remember correctly, you do get more time. And then there's certain rooms you enter and certain things you do where the time freezes. So that's good, obviously. So when you're choosing things, for example, as you can see on the screen right now, if you're watching the video, when you're choosing between different options, it does freeze, which is nice. But I was kind of hoping maybe for more ways to to just like add time, even if it's just a really small amount of time. Maybe for a certain floor there's a challenge, right? And you have to you know kill all the enemies or get to the end in a certain amount of time, and then you get time added, something like that, or kill a certain amount of enemies, whatever it is. I thought that could be kind of interesting. So and the reason I bring that up as well is because when I first started playing, my wife was like watching me play, and I was explaining. She was like, "Oh, what's like the timer?" And I was like, "Oh, when you like kill things, like you can get more time." And then I realized, oh no, that's not the case. Like I just thought that was a mechanic because it just kind of made sense to me, but it's not. Doesn't seem like it is. At least from the hours I played, that didn't happen with any type of enemy I came across. But getting through all that, I did really enjoy my time with the game. I think it is very linear, and it's weird because I know when we played it at PAX, even in some of the reviews that I've seen of the game, there is a lot of comparison to Diablo, which I think makes that sense from maybe like an aesthetic point of view. And obviously, it's like a kind of a dungeon crawler like perspective, and it's Hell Clock, right? Like it's all kind of tied with a similar theme to Diablo. But I almost felt like you could also play this game like a survivor like, which is actually the gameplay you're watching is me playing. And I got this ability called double knives where it's just kind of it spins around a lot. You can see it going off. And I almost just kind of started playing this like a linear survivor like in a way, rather than, playing like Diablo. I'm kind of more um
like
more
methodical.
intentional. Yeah, with like the things that I'm doing, right? And you kind of like touched on this a bit. So I think it to me, it's a little bit more of like a Vampire Survivors meets Hades kind of experience. But you can also like if you were to turn the clock off and maybe use something like a precision type weapon, something like that, I could see it feeling a little bit more like Diablo. But the way I was playing it, it definitely didn't feel like super Diablo-esque. And then just one more thing with the gameplay that I liked is the trinket system. So when you kill enemies, they drop these trinkets, and these trinkets essentially are just like stat boosts that automatically get applied to your character. I thought that was great because I feel like they could have made that, like you mentioned, kind of a lot of choices, right? Imagine that was another choice you had to make. Every trinket you got, you had to choose whether you wanted to apply it or not, or maybe there were different options for whatever rarity of trinket you ended up getting. I appreciate that, like it just gets added to your character. So regardless of what you kind of do in the lobby area, right, or like the choices that you go through after each level up, things like that, where you have like a little bit more control or full control over. The trinkets are just kind of random, right? So your build could be totally different from what you expected. So I ended up like when I picked up these trinkets, I was like, all right, let me try to like almost like build around what I'm getting. And I had a good time. I didn't get past the second boss. This game is like the boss battles, at least the second one, I got to a few times and I struggled with it, but I felt like every run I was a little bit more prepared, a little bit better. So I appreciate that type of progression. But yeah, I don't know. There's things I really loved about the gameplay, and then there's a few things where I'm like, this seems a little gimmicky, or like this just could have been a little bit better. So I'm kind of like right there with you, kind of and how you're feeling about the gameplay.
Yeah, and it is really interesting, and especially the linear side of things feels like a fresh take here, especially with the story. Right, this is a very story focused game, based on historical things that happen, as I mentioned before, which is something that I had never heard of, which was kind of neat to kind of discover that as a player and as like a fan of history in general. This like War of Canudos through this like different lens, like this kind of alt history thing, like I don't want to like it's almost like like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter or whatever. Like, right, you just like take something and you add like this supernatural element. And I always like that kind of stuff. It's really really neat, and I like this as well. I appreciate that all the voice acting was in what I'm assuming is Portuguese if it's Brazil, but and it was all really well done. And I didn't feel like I was inundated with a ton of story, which I think was good, but like it gave you a great, like some really cool cut scenes and stuff like that to kind of like lay out this interesting thing that happened and why you are going through and basically trying to like save this one person from kind of like damnation, right? And I thought that was a pretty compelling story because like these roguelikes are cool, right? Like they're fun. We have a ton of fun playing them, but you can have a really basic reason as to why you're going through and doing these runs. But when you have something that holds a little bit more weight, like I think like this game does, it makes it a little bit more compelling. I'm looking at a game that I guess is probably a little bit similar, but not totally, but like Sworn, right? You kind of have like this really like bare bones like reason as to why you're going through. Like the Knights of the Round Table are evil, yada yada yada. You gotta go through and kill them all. Great video game premise. This ups that a little bit, right? I think that you have like a real kind of character depth and people to interact with back at the base, but also a reason as to why you keep trying to do this because you have this person that you want to save, and I think that was a nice pleasant surprise because that's something that I definitely didn't get when we played the demo originally at PAX East. So to kind of see that there was a lot of passion here about a real historical event was pretty neat. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and learning about it was also very cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. This game's got a lot of like passion and like a lot of emotion, even through like the voice acting. You can also turn on like English dub if you want to, but I didn't just because I just thought, I was really like involved with the world when it was in like the original, Portuguese language. So that was really cool. And then just this like story, obviously like a horrific event that happened. And your character is basically trying to figure out, why this happened. And he's kind of stuck in this endless loop, right? So that was interesting. And then, all the characters you kind of meet that you talk to back at the, your kind of starting area, which unfortunately I can never pronounce what that is. It starts with a Q. I don't know. I'm struggling at trying to pronounce that, but they're kind of like your lobby area. And then there's like characters that you rescue well when you're out on these runs, similar to like other games in the genre that do that kind of thing. But they obviously bring more story elements, and it was just something where as someone that usually skips through a lot of dialogue, I was reading it. There's not a ton of dialogue in this game, so maybe that's another reason why I was more tolerant about it. But it was also like, well, this is such like, since I already knew this is based on a historic event and it was a terrible event. I'm like, I want to learn more about this because it seems interesting. Like I you would think a horrific event like this, like, more people would know about it, but I guess, definitely wasn't brought up in our school, anything like that. So I was interested to kind of learn more. So it's definitely a story driven game, but not to the point where like, your boss battles, things like that are going to be unraveling a lot more from my experience, at least. It's really just kind of like talking to the characters back at, their starting area.
Yeah. And a lot of it is supported, kind of by the visuals here, I think. It really sets the tone of like the time period for sure. You know, because it's kind of hard to do the world that like unless you're doing a strict Western, which like, you know, if it's based in Brazil, it's not going to be a Western, right? Like, I mean, it can be kind of, and it has that kind of, you know, time period feel to it, but like it can be hard to pull off the visuals of what a world for like the late 19th century is going to look like. Or is it late 19th? Yeah, late 19th century.
Yeah.
So I think that visually this game's very, very stunning. I think there's a lot of information thrown at you for sure, but everything just looks really good and clean, and you can kind of just figure out what the heck is like going on in terms of it can be hard to get that vibe, right? That, you know, you kind of look for in the late 19th century, but I think they really nail it. This game looks beautiful, you know. There's like some really interesting like dynamic things happening outside of your character and other characters. Like when you're kind of exploring, I don't know if this was done intentionally, but the way the shadow moves, it almost is like you're being followed by something demonic. And I couldn't really tell if that was intentional, but like it feels like the shadow has a life of its own, because you know you're going through this kind of dark dungeon, but as you go through you're holding like a lantern, right? So you're going to like create shadows everywhere you go, and sometimes it just felt a little wild. So all that being said, I think the moves looked really good. I like the menus. You know, there's a lot going on, as I said, in the gameplay, so like you kind of need something a little bit cleaner, and I think that this certainly kind of made it digestible and the way it looked. But yeah, I really like the way this game looks, because it is, you know, kind of that always forget the term for it, but like not like it's like not impressionist, but you know, has like some really dark shadow strokes and stuff like that. It just looks really, really good. So I like the menus. I like the way the different moves look, the skills. I like your heads up display looks awesome as well. The map is very clear as to what's going on, and I really like how this game looks.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I mean, it's really sharp. You know, the different colors that you use with like the different abilities and different elements, and you know, everything just looks really great. Even like the trinkets that you're picking up. You know, especially like if you're watching the video, like this move that I'm doing right now, I think it looks awesome. It's got like lightning shooting down, a lot of electricity, things like that. But it's kind of also got like fire mixed into it. It's pretty cool. And yeah, I think you know, the game looks great. It doesn't give you too much information on the screen. You know, everything that's on there like feels like it has a purpose. Even like the maps, you know, I know I mentioned there's not a lot to explore, but it's also like kind of a good thing because you know exactly where you need to go. And then if you do venture off, you know, there's it's not a very long distance that you'll have to go anyway. But yeah, I mean it feels close quarters. You know, the art just really it's great. You know, I don't really have any like notes on it. I also agree about the shadows. You know, I think that it also made me wonder if there was like more happening than what I realized. But then I realized, oh, this is just like my shadow that's following me because I'm carrying this lantern. So I think, yeah, I mean, everything about the art here is just fantastic. No issues with it, you know, whatsoever. It's clear to know what you need to do. It's clear to know like kind of your status with mana and health, things like that. Um, you know, and also back at the town when you're managing your gear, you're you know, upgrading your skills, things like that. Very clear, very easy to understand. You know, there's not too many currencies, things like that that are kind of clogging up your heads up display. So yeah, I think it's all good from the art side. No issues there.
Oh yeah, yeah. And in terms of the sound, it was good, right? Like I mentioned, the voice acting was actually very impressive. You know, very cool to be able to get like, you know, some like, you're like, wait a second, because you're getting ready because you're reading the English words, and then you're like, oh wow, that's a different language, and it was very excellent, and the music was good, and the sound design was good. It wasn't anything like super, like, I think memorable, right? It's kind of more atmospheric. I have some teed up that we can listen to in a minute here. Let me, where the heck did I put it? But it's fine. I don't think it was like super memorable. There's some like really cool like kind of bazooki style, I guess, kind of bazooki style, like guitar riffing that's going on that reminded me of like this, like kind of not medieval, but like definitely like the guitar from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, the do 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 do, but like a little bit different. I was singing it before we even started, and you're like, "Is that the music from the thing?" No, but I'm gonna play some right now so that you can hear it. And as you can hear, like this almost like kind of harpsichord style strings, and then you kind of hear like the squishiness of killing undead creatures. But
I don't hear anything.
You didn't hear anything. It was on my end. But listen, the listeners could hear, I promise. Yeah. But it is a totally fine sound design, and you know, just nothing crazy, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's I always go back to like, if I heard this and I didn't know it was Hell Clock, would I know it was Hell Clock, right? Like if I just kind of heard it in passing. And no, not really. But I don't think that means it's a bad soundtrack. Yeah, it fits the theme of the game well. Maybe I would have liked it to be a little bit more like intense. I don't know. The game's called Hell Clock. I kind of felt like maybe it was a little tame in certain areas, but I didn't have a problem with the music overall. Sound effects are good. You know, you hear a lot of like there's a lot of like collecting of like coins and trinkets and things like that. So that's, you know, kind of like the hungry hippos sort of effect of just collecting a lot of things. So that was satisfying from the sound standpoint. But yeah, the real highlight is like the voice acting. Even though, you know, I don't understand Portuguese, obviously I was able to read the captions, and yeah, you just feel all the emotion that comes through. You know, it's intriguing. It's interesting voice acting. It's well done. I would hope that the English dub was just as good as well, but again, I stayed on the original language, and yeah, that's the real highlight when it comes to the sound. But the music is fine, and sound effects are all right as well. It's just nothing that is like super memorable at the end of the day.
Cool. And performance-wise, I played it a little bit on the Steam Deck and then also on PC, and they both played very well. I would say I did run into some audio issues, but I think it's an ongoing thing that's going on with my audio interface, so it's not their problem. But did you run into any issues?
No, yeah, not at all. Ran really well. I just played on PC. I didn't load it up on the deck or anything, but no, ran well. We even played this, you know, we got the keys like prior to launch. Everything was fine as well there. So it definitely seems like a pretty well optimized game. But yeah, no issues from my side.
Awesome. Now that's going to bring us to our ratings. Our rating system is as follows. A top tier game is Certified Fresh Juice. These are our Balatros, our Boar Blasters of the world. Great games that we just absolutely adore, kind of view them as indie darlings ourselves. After that, we have a Steel, games that we think are good. They're very good. We recommend them, but not quite at that higher echelon of games. These are games like Born of Bread, Pepper Grinder, you know, No Rest for the Wicked. These, like, you know, solid games. After that, we have On Sale. these are games that, you know, have their issues, but once they're on the, you know, kind of on sale, maybe you want to pick it up, or if it's intriguing enough, you might find the enjoyment there that maybe we felt like it was just lacking a little bit. These are games like Wizard with a Gun, Hellskate, and then after that we have Manager Special. These are games that you get on like free to play or really deep discount because we didn't really enjoy them, but maybe people who really like that genre will. And then after that, Spoiled Milk, which, as we talked about last week, the only double Spoiled Milk game we've ever reviewed was Beyond Citadel. And that's a good example of a Spoiled Milk from us. Now, Matty Juice, what is your rating for Hell Clock?
I am giving Hell Clock a solid steal. I think that I had a lot of fun playing the game. There are a few shortcomings that would have, you know, let me give it a certified fresh juice. But I really enjoyed myself. I find myself going back, doing another run. You know, I think it's one of those games where if I got through all the bosses, like I probably wouldn't like play it again. But I'm having fun going through, you know, these runs to try to get further and further. I think there's plenty of stuff to unlock. So I think it's like a fairly priced game. And yeah, I had fun with it. Also very curious to kind of see this, you know, more of this end game system as well. Not sure exactly what you would need to do to get there. I know it is out in beta, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So I assume eating everything in the run unlocks it, but I also don't know if there's another way to get it. So curious about that. But yeah, I'm giving it a solid steal. What about you, Tommy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to speak to the Ascension, which is like the end game content, they did share a little bit of information on what that is. But, you know, this is something we also didn't mention, that the game is played in acts. So, like, you know, as you progress, you got to go through the 3 acts of the game. So I guess when you beat that, you unlock Ascension. And you basically are, like, kind of redoing it from the beginning with, like, different kind of challenges, right? Because this is a game to play fast. So... which makes sense. It's like Slay the Spire or anything like that has like an ascension system. But I'm going to give it a steal as well. You know, I enjoyed my time with it. I will revisit it for sure. I just felt like sometimes it has so many ideas shoved into it that it can be a little, you know, like have some dissonance, right? Like of like what is going on. So I just felt like that kind of holds it back in a way because, you know, I kept replaying it and I liked it, but I just felt like I would get overwhelmed with some of the information in between, and like, you know, there's a lot of stuff to like juggle. And I think some people will really love that, to be fair. I think some people are going to like really love this game because they're like, oh, I get to like really dig in and like, you know, parse through all these different kinds of upgrades and relics and all that kind of stuff. For me, I like that stuff, but I think it was a little bit overwhelming for me. But that being said, the gameplay loop is fun, looks great, sounds good. The story is super solid. I will continue to play this game, a solid steal for me as well. Matt, what is next week? We don't know yet. I saw the note that we might do Real World next week, or I put there's a game called He Is Coming that's out in early access, and Matt put a note in asking he is. So stay tuned for next week. We'll see what we review. Now, listener questions. These come from the Discord. You can submit these whenever, but usually we also ping everybody when we're about to record. First one comes from K Moore. If you were a shopkeep in a game, what would you sell?
It's a good question. I feel like I would sell. mozzarella sticks. You know, no.
No.
I don't know. I think it would be cool to sell like different gems. You know,
Gems?
do different upgrade. Yeah, different gems. It would be kind of
Interesting.
cool. Honestly, every time I think of a shopkeep in a game, I just think of like Ocarina of Time shopkeeps. So whatever they're selling, maybe too. But I don't know. What about you? What are you thinking with this one?
I just saw your Discord message, by the way. Matt is a nasty, nasty boy. He's trying to make me laugh on a podcast. If I was a shopkeep, I'd want to be like some kind of like, blacksmith kind of armory, kind of sell some really cool weapons. But I want to be like an end game one, right? Like not early game. I'm just like, yeah, here's some basic stuff. No, I want to be like, listen, I got the goods. I got really cool stuff. This is an epic sword that's blessed with this enchantment, that enchantment, the other enchantment, and it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. But think about how many arms and legs you can slice off with this sword. Yeah. So, I think that would be what I would do, right?
And that brings up another idea. I want to be one of those shopkeeps. If I'm selling gems, I only show up at certain times, in different places, where you'll have to make a website about me of where I am. Like this happened in Destiny, because every weekend there's like a certain vendor, Zur, that would show up. But he would be in different places every weekend. So there's literally a website called Where is Zur that just tells you where he is. So something like that could be cool. Even like Breath of the Wild, there's like, I think one of the shopkeeps or vendors that you can come across is like only at night in certain areas. And he's got like a glowing armor set that you can buy. I know I went out of my way to get that. So something like that would be cool. Yeah. A little bit like feel a little exclusive, I don't want to be like the Nook shop, right? And just kind of like be open like every day, like what is that? Yeah, come on.
Every day.
Yeah.
We're not trying to make money. we're only around once a month.
Yeah.
No, that's a good answer. Good question too, K-More. I know you submitted it last week, but we didn't get to it because you submitted it after we recorded. Mr. Viz, aka Gary, comes in and asks, Donkey Kong Bonanza fit check. What are you rocking? Have you changed outfits yet on Donkey Kong?
I have not. No, I just bought it yesterday, so I'm still in the early game. I have not changed outfits yet, but I know we've talked about it, that there's different like stat boosts, things like that with the different clothes. So what are you rocking?
Right now I am rocking like these yellow pants with like polka dots with a kind of a matching tie, but I'm in black fur. And then I also kind of got Pauline in a similar outfit that is cowboy themed. So that's what we're rocking right now. Now, I will say that it's really hard to progress the story in that game mostly because I'll be playing when I'm next to my wife, and she just wants me to go get the fossils so I can unlock more outfits. And she's like, she's like, oh, there's a fossil there. I'm like, okay, let me go play. It's just like, all right, there's a fossil there. We can get more fossils. If we can get more fossils, we can do this, that, and the other thing. So, it is a top tier collecting game. It is like, I'm not even viewing that game as like a platformer. I'm just like, well, I'll just collect everything. And it's actually been a lot of fun. So, shout out DK Bonanza. Bags, our friend, asks, what's your favorite 3D platformer?
Oh my God. My favorite 3D platformer. It's tough. I mean, always loved Super Mario 64. Really enjoyed It Takes Two. But I think I played a lot of like Super Mario 3D Land. That was a fun one. I'm still playing through Super Mario Galaxy, so that's not on there right? I would consider that that's a 3D platformer, right? And Super Mario Sunshine, all that stuff. So, um, I don't know. What are you thinking? I mean, there's been a lot that I've played, but favorite one.
So this is tough. Okay. Like, the one that I have the most nostalgia for is Super Mario Sunshine. Now, I know a lot of people don't really like that game that much, which was news to me when I got on the internet, that like people didn't really like Super Mario Sunshine. I'm like, well, that I was like a young lad with a freaking GameCube, and I was having a freaking blast, and I thought the flood machine, like the water thing that you get from EGAD, was awesome. I think that was such a fun mechanic, and I think it didn't really resonate with a lot of people now that I read other people talking about it. But I will say Super Mario 64, with one caveat, when they put it on the DS.
Okay.
Because that's when I really grinded that game. I had it on the N64, but like when I had it on the DS, that I think was the optimal way to play, because you can also play as like Wario and stuff like that. That was pretty sick. So
cool. Yeah. You know, another one that comes to my mind that I played a lot of is like Rayman. Rayman 64. I played a lot of Rayman 64. That was always a fun one.
I feel like, did they give up on Rayman? Because like I know that one of the Raymans was considered like one of the best side-scrolling platformers, like in the modern era.
I think Rayman Origins, I think it was, but they kind of just stuck with like the side-scrolling. Rayman Legends.
Yeah, Legends, I think is the one I was thinking
Legend. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's still, owned by Ubisoft and or developed by them. So I don't know, but I feel like it should get a little bit more love.
Yeah.
We need Rayman and Smash,
That's one that I'm surprised never made it onto there, because Rayman seemed like a no-brainer, but I remember playing Rayman at your house on N64. Like 30 years ago. not quite 30 years ago, 25 years ago, which is crazy. But thanks for the question, Bags. What's yours? Drop it in the comments below. Capolo asks, which video game looks the most beautiful to you?
The most beautiful video game.
Beyond Citadel. No.
Beyond Citadel. That's the one. Honestly, I mean, I love the way Valheim looks. I think Valheim looks really interesting and good. If you're going like more realistic, like I've always loved like The Last of Us, like kind of that overgrown, aesthetic. Really did a great job with that in the show as well. But as far as, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of games I love. It's hard for me to choose like this one's like the most beautiful game. There's a lot we play, even like games like Haunty. I was like, wow, this is like looks so cool. Like, there's just so much to appreciate when it comes to the art for a lot of games. So it's tough for me to choose one. What about you? Anything come to mind?
It is tough. There's a decent amount of games that like I'm trying to think back at like me playing and being like, whoa, like this looks so good. And golly, I don't even know. I can't really pick like the actual one, I don't think. But I think a game that I think encompasses a lot of what I like is Arco, which like has this very simple pixel art style, but like really nails the kind of environments, right? And puts like these basic pixelized sprite characters in these really beautiful like environments. And I think Arco does that like the best in recent history, I would say. Like even like Cast and Chill, that game looked beautiful to me too, right?
Oh
those games are like, anything like that. The realistic stuff, I'm like whatever. I'll watch a movie if I want something realistic. I want something a little bit more impressionistic or whatever.
But, yeah, no, I get that. Even I'm now I'm a big fan of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of perspective, right? Like It Takes Two, Grounded, like love the way that those games look. Just because I always think of like A Bug's Life, and I always think of like the spyglass they make with like the water drop, and I'm always like, I just want to do that in a game. So that's an aesthetic I really like. Is when you're like the size of an ant, essentially, because it's just really cool to see, the scale of everything. So, good question though, Capolo. It's tough to narrow it down.
Which is the most beautiful game to you, Capolo? Drop it in the comments or in the Discord. Good questions, good episode. But first, we gotta go to the rec room where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game. What do you have to recommend?
So I am recommending a movie that is from 2013. This is one that I've seen recommended quite a bit on TikTok, and I was like, you know what? Let's give it a watch. I convinced Maria. I was like, let's watch it. TikTok said it's good, and I know that could mean it's awful, but we'll have to see. And it's called About Time. And I've only ever seen one clip from this. I don't know if this is a movie you've seen, Tom. You've seen a lot of movies.
I actually, funny enough, I know everything about the movie, but never seen it. And I'm not surprised that you're wrecking it, though, from what I know.
Yeah, it's the concept of the movie that you get introduced to pretty quickly. And the only clip I had ever seen of it is essentially there's a dad that kind of sits down his son and tells his son, now that he is 21, that he shares his family secret with him, that all the men in his family have been able to travel in time. Only back in time, not forwards in time, and only to places they physically have been. And for whatever reason, there's no like butterfly effect issue, anything like that. They even bring that up in the movie. So obviously the son doesn't believe him. All they have to do is go into a closet or a dark space, close their eyes, close their fists, and think of where they need to go. And then he tries that. It actually works. And he's just like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And yeah, it's just a story about, this 21-year-old kid that has obviously this incredible power. And he kind of, his only goal is to try to get a girlfriend with it. He's like, maybe it could help me do that. Because at first he's like, oh, money. Like I should get money. And apparently it's a bad route to go down. And yeah, I don't know. It's a really like, at the end of the movie, it's like a movie that can like change your perspective on things. And that's what I had heard through TikTok. So Maria and I both agreed at the end, like she was just like, oh my God, that was like such a sweet movie. And so, yeah, it's worth a watch, TikTok got it right this time. So recommending About Time. Check it out. If you have any extra time, you should go check out About Time. It's on Netflix.
And it's Domhnall Gleeson,
yes,
right? Who's Brendan Gleeson's son. Also General Hux in Star Wars for fans of that series. And then his dad played Mad-Eye Moody, yada, yada, yada. And then Rachel McAdams. And then is Bill Nye in that? Not Bill Nye, the science guy, but Bill Nye, the English guy.
Yeah, and Margot Robbie. And Vanessa Kirby as well.
No way. How about that? Yeah, I've heard only good things about that movie. So glad you liked it. Maybe we'll have to watch it soon. I'm recommending an album by one of my favorite bands, Lord Huron. They just came out with their newest album, The Cosmic Selector Volume 1. I don't know if there's going to be a Volume 2 or if this is more like a History of the World Part 1 kind of thing, although apparently we're getting History of the World Part 2 from Mel Brooks now. But their newest album, I would say Lord Huron is one of the best concept album artists out there, because they really nail just like transporting you to a place in whatever they are trying to tell a story in. And I think Cosmic Selector is one of their a good one, and it just is a very relaxing album that, you know, feels very spacey and psychedelic and vibey. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm going to see them on Friday with Bags. Bags will be there. Yeah, it's good. Check it out if you just want to listen to something that's like nice to put in the background for the day. I would say the Cosmic Selector Volume 1 by Lord Huron. So, yeah, that's it.
There you go. Nice. Cosmic Selector. I like that name.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool. Yeah. But hey, I tell you what's even cooler, how good this podcast is and where to find us. You can find me on all socials at Fresh Buds Pod. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds. Last week I had DM Armada on. We talked about everything that happened at the Pro Tour weekend. And then this week, I already recorded it, I talked with Max Ferocity, who did an official cosplay for LSS, the company that makes Flesh and Blood. And she's the best in the biz, and she's very cool. And guess what? Little spoiler alert, she had food poisoning when she was doing that cosplay. So, you know, a real trooper. But where can, also Fresh Juice Pod on all socials. Where can people find you?
Find me at Matty Gorm, Gorm, on all the socials. And we'll see how much content I'm doing in the future. But that's where you can find me.
That's where you can find him. Also at this address. Get your pens out, folks. Right? No.